To end this module, I'd like to talk a bit about cyber war and cyber terrorism. Incidents of both types of warfare have already been launched. The first cyber war broke out in 2007 when China attacked Germany and the US. Soon after, Estonia became victim of another wave of cyber attacks. We'll look into this later. Cyber warfare will emerge as a more and more prevalent reality, unfortunately. Why is that? It's easy to attack a computer system. It's easier than attacking, let's say, a commuting system. You don't need many resources or planning. You don't even have to be at the scene of the crime. It's not hard to locate the missile launcher in the first picture of the slide. The Russians learned that the hard way when they tried to plant it in Cuba. The bottom picture shows a typical housing estate. You can launch an effective cyber attack from there, an attack which is impossible to detect. You don't need a nuclear missile silo either. An internet connection will be enough. What are the methods of cyber warfare? First, espionage. It's very easy to send information over the internet without attracting anyone's attention. It's possible to hide data in a picture posted on a service. The picture can be viewed by anyone, but only the person who's in the know can read the letter hidden in the image. Can you do this in the internet? Of course you can. Arab Spring is a good example of how effective internet propaganda and networking can be. All Arab governments attempted to significantly reduce or even ban internet services. While the outcome wasn't successful, this whole situation, the first of its kind, really makes one think. We'll now move on to denial of service attacks. Try to think of what could happen if there was no internet for a day, a week, or a month. You wouldn't be able to read your emails, log into your account in a social networking service, your smartphone wouldn't work, and you wouldn't be able to buy or sell anything online. But that's not all. It's possible to attack and stop, or at least hinder, the functionality of specialist computer systems. Electricity, water supply, or television are all services that can be remotely blocked. A magnetic cloud can even block those systems which are not connected to the internet. The final point in this module will talk about some specific instances of cyber war. First, there's Estonia in 2007. The attacks began around the time when a monument commemorating Soviet soldiers, the Bronze Soldier of Tallinn, was removed from the city center. First speculations pointed to the Russian Federation as being behind this attack. The DOS attack, which lasted for 3 weeks, targeted banks and administration infrastructure. Embassies were blocked. For 3 weeks, the country's information flow services were paralyzed. The Kremlin refused to assume responsibility for the sabotage, but at the same time admitted that it would be able to run a large-scale attack of this kind. A year later, as some of you may remember, Russian forces invaded Georgia. Standard military operations were concurrent with cyber attacks that targeted government servers. Torrent networks were utilized. All network traffic was redirected to governmental websites. This resulted in a complete denial of service, which means that government websites and Georgian press agencies' websites were all blocked. Another instance of cyber warfare occurred in 2010, when Google detected that some of their accounts set up on Google servers were being monitored. Email accounts that belonged to Chinese dissidents were monitored by sniffer programs installed on client computers. This was revealed also because a lot of simultaneous connections to one account were detected from many locations in China. It turned out that incoming and outgoing information on the accounts had been spied on for a long time. Accounts of US and EU-based Chinese human rights activists were also targeted in the same way. During its investigation, Google also found traces of attacks that hit some high-tech American companies. These attacks aimed to steal intellectual property and technologies that were being developed by the companies. The last case I'd like you to know about is the Stuxnet worm. We're moving on to the latest history now. The worm hit Iran in June of 2010. It was a highly specific worm written for PLC devices that hid itself by using a rootkit. The technology used to develop Stuxnet had to be highly sophisticated, as the motivation behind the attack was to impede the Iranian nuclear program. The virus might have been spread into uranium enrichment plants through a USB flash drive. The infected drives would have needed to be connected to a computer that controlled centrifuges used for cooling nuclear fuel. The Iranian staff broke basic security rules. The virus exploited vulnerabilities that were unknown at the point of attack. The US and Israel have been obviously speculated to be involved in the attacks. The virus caused centrifuges to malfunction by slowing them down and making them work faster after a few weeks. This behavior should have been immediately detected at the uranium enrichment plant, and immediate steps should have been taken. The Iranians had replaced about 1,000 centrifuges before they understood that they were under attack. The nuclear program was not stopped, however. 2 Iranian scientists were later killed in bomb explosions, which can also be linked to the attack. Summing up, it has to be highlighted that cybercriminals don't seek publicity. They don't want to be media heroes. The dangerous rationale behind their attacks is motivated by greed or national interest. This is an indirect reason which explains why we don't hear much nowadays on cyber attacks. They aren't launched to bring their creators fame. They're intended to be stealthy and bring money. Thank you.